Welcome to Literary Libations with Librarians. And this week we are sharing books that put us into the holiday spirit. As we're sharing our titles, if you'd like to get your hands on any of them, there are several ways to go about doing that. The first and probably the quickest is to call your local branch of the Monroe County Library System, and the staff there will be more than happy to assist you. If you're interested in physical versions, a hardcover, an audiobook on CD, that catalog at web address is on your screen now, and you can go there and request those. If you see a title that is available on one of our digital platforms, and we have two of those, we have Overdrive or Libby or Hoopla. So if you see a title available on one of those, you can go directly to those and request them. Overdrive offers downloadable ebooks and audiobooks, and Hoopla offers downloadable ebooks, audiobooks, also movies, music, and graphic novels. And the great thing about Hoopla is if you see the lightning bolt or it is an instant borrow, then there is no wait for those items. And lots of people can check out the same items at the same time. I'm Jennifer Graneski, and I'm the community librarian at the Dundee branch. And to kick us off this week, our introductory question is, what song put you into the holiday spirit? And for me, it has been for many, many years now. We'll see if this will hold up. The VeggieTales Christmas album, because I have listened to this every holiday since I was in college. And I don't know what it was in college. I had a big VeggieTales thing. We watched a lot of VeggieTales. I love Silly Songs with Larry. This is the best Christmas CD ever. Because where else can you listen to Feliz Navidad, the Boar's Head Carol, which is a traditional English carol about a student going, he's walking somewhere, a boar starts to attack him, he shoves his copy of Aristotle down the boar's throat, kills it, chops its head off, and they have boar's head for Christmas. Nothing says Christmas like that. It also has the 8 Polish foods of Christmas, as well as lots and lots of traditional carols. My particular favorite are those sung by Junior, because he sings with utter abandon, just like any kid that you know does who loves singing. Junior loves to sing, even if he's not great at it. So we've already listened to this, I don't know how many times in my household this season while we were putting up our tree, and my son and I know all the words. So yes, the VeggieTales Christmas album. So also with us this week is Jen McCarty, who is a reference librarian at the Ellis branch. And what song or music puts you into the Christmas or holiday spirit, Jen?
I can't compete with VeggieTales. For me, one of my favorites is I was in choir all through school. I was in a show choir, and I was in an all-girls show choir, and I'm an alto. So if you're not familiar with music, that's the low part. One of my favorite songs I did several times was Carol of the Bells. And it just makes me happy. I love every version of it. But from having sang it, all I can hear, basically, if you're one of the low parts in a choir, you don't get to do the fun stuff. So the sopranos are singing all the fancy words, and they're going really fast. And the altos, which is what I was back when I sang daily, just making bell noises. So the whole song is just ding.
Dong.
But it was fun to sing, and I love the song. It's so vibrant and fun, and I have a lot of memories of performing it in different places. So Carol of the Bells always immediately makes me happy.
Nice. Thank you, Jen. Also with us this week is Jody Russ, the community librarian at the Bedford branch. And what music puts you into the holiday mood, Jody?
First, I will say I actually am the proud owner of the VeggieTales Christmas CD, so I also have my own personal copy of that. So I might have to go home and listen to it now that you've made me think of it. 3 things that I'll say. The first one that I thought of was Feliz Navidad, because I can't help but dance in my seat when I hear the song Feliz Navidad. Charlie Brown Christmas, whatever is that called the Lucy and Linus?
It's like the theme or something.
Yeah, something like that. I love hearing that song for some reason, and I'm a big Bruce Springsteen fan, so Santa Claus is Coming to Town by the Boss is definitely a classic that I'll listen to any time of the year. It doesn't have to be Christmas.
Excellent. Thank you, Jody. And I'm so glad there's somebody else that owns VeggieTales Christmas CD out there. All right. And also with us this week is Joyce Tatke, who is a processor and a repairer at our administrative building. And what music puts you into the holiday spirit, Joyce?
Well, I also have the VeggieTales Christmas CD, along with, I'm pretty sure, every VeggieTales DVD known to man, because I have a special needs daughter who, even though she's 25, she's kind of like 5. And so Christmas, VeggieTales is all year round. Christmas is all year round at my house. So I can't honestly say any of those songs put me in the Christmas mood, because it could be July when I'm listening to it. The 2 songs that come to mind that will always make me smile, always make me happy, sometimes make me cry. There is a version of Oh Holy Night by the Oak Ridge Boys that just gets me every single time. Just hits you in the feels. And the other one is Mary Did You Know, specifically by Pentatonics, but any version is good, but Pentatonics is just blows you away all the time. So those are my 2 favorites.
Thank you, Joyce. And now we're going to move into sharing books that put us into the holiday spirit. And let's have Jody kick us off.
All right. I don't think I've ever gone first before, so this is exciting. Well, the first one I'm going to talk about is, you know, the classic Christmas story, A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. And, you know, I mean, I hope that everybody has read the book, but obviously it's been made into many different movie and TV versions too. My particular favorite that I always listen to is it's available on audio through Hoopla, read by Ralph Cosham, who was a British-born American actor and narrator. He was the narrator of many of Louise Penny's, well, the first 10 books in the Gamache series by Louise Penny. And so I love his voice. He has one of those kind of a little bit gravelly, and he doesn't necessarily do different voices for different characters, but the inflection of his voice definitely lets you know that he's reading somebody else's part when he does it. And so I love to listen to it. He reads this classic tale with feeling. He brings you into the tale that's been told in so many ways, both book and movie, so many times. From classically trained actors to the Muppets, which I, you know, actually had here on the shelf. So you can't miss that one too. But the story of old Scrooge being visited by his dead partner Marley on Christmas Eve to see the past, present, and future never gets old. And I listen to this book every year and try to do so before I watch several different versions of the movie, because while I do love the Muppets, I think the Jim Carrey version that came out, which seems to me like it came out a couple of years ago, but apparently it's been like 10 or 12 years, something like that. I think that was actually particularly good. And then there's always the, you know, goofy ones like Scrooged with, who's in Scrooged? Now I don't even remember. But anyway, there's all those other takeoffs on that classic story too. Yeah, Bill Murray. Yes. I can't believe I didn't remember that. So, you know, it's one of those classic stories, been adapted in many ways, but it's always nice to go back to the original writing and hear the story as it was meant to be told. So that was my first one. The second one is called The Christmas Day Kitten by James Herriot. And this title we own in a compilation, which I actually had this on the shelf here at Bedford too. So it's in a compilation of A Treasury for Children, which obviously are not all Christmas stories, but they're James Herriot stories. And so he spent much of his life caring for animals, both small and large, and then writing stories about it. He was an author and a veterinary surgeon, lived in rural England. I don't even remember where for sure, but he's well known for All Creatures Great and Small, which was a best-selling book, but also became a TV miniseries and a movie. There's been several different versions of that. So The Christmas Day Kitten is one of those stories, and it's the story of a stray cat who's been hanging around a farm, occasionally coming up to eat, but never coming near people or getting close to anybody. And then all of a sudden on this particular Christmas Eve, the cat comes to the door and wants to be let in, and she appears as though she's unwell. So the lady who lives in the farmhouse is really concerned, lets her come in the house, and she curls up by the fireplace and eventually gives birth to a kitten, and not very much longer passes away. And so the woman takes care of this kitten and raises it, and it shows James Herriot visited the Christmas Eve that this happened, but then a year later stopped and visited too, and saw this sleek cat who was given the family's 3 basset hounds a really hard time. Loves to play with them, but you know, the dogs think it's ridiculous. So, but the woman is sure that the cat knew that she wasn't going to be able to take care of her kitten, and that felt like that farm was a safe place, and that knew that her kitten would be well cared for there. And so I just felt like that was kind of, you know, I don't know. It's one of those heart-rending kind of animal stories. So I probably always cry when I read it to my kids, but I think it's still, you know, anything makes me cry. So it's still just a really nice story about caring for somebody or something else and doing the right thing. So. And then the last book that I had, because I did pick 3, I couldn't, you know, I had a million I could have picked. But this is just one that I ran across last year. It's called A Lot Like Christmas by Connie Willis. And it's not even the sort of thing that I would normally pick up, but I had really, I always listen to audiobooks. That's how I choose to read most of my stuff. And I had just looked for anything we had instantly available on audio that was a Christmas story. Like last year, didn't we all need a little extra Christmas feeling because everything was so different than normal? So I was looking for anything, and then I would listen to those, all of those, you know, Gift of the Magi and all kinds of different things while I was cleaning, decorating, baking, wrapping gifts, everything. I was listening to books. So this particular one is a compilation of 12 short stories that are very different stories, but they have the same basic message. The Christmas season is about more than presents, and the greatest gift we all have are the people that we love. And so, and Hoopla's description, it says these stories are full of humor, absurdity, human foibles, tragedy, joy, and hope, and they cover such topics as the office Christmas party, the Christmas newsletter, secret Santas, pageants, and Christmas dinners, both large and small. It was really a kind of quirky group of stories. Like it's, you know, all kinds of things. Like one of them had aliens from space that had come down, and another one was just about, you know, some woman working in an office who had a crush on a guy and couldn't tell him that she had a crush on him. And, you know, it was like just weird little, not even my normal thing, but just something to listen to. So what I liked best about it and why it stuck in my head when we were talking about this topic is the very end of the book has a list of Miss Willis's all-time favorite movies, TV shows, books, poetry, all kinds of different things that's holiday based. And so it was a pretty extensive list. And while I was pleased that I had listened to or watched many of the things on there, there were definitely some things I wasn't familiar with. So it kind of, you know, at the time it was perfect because I knew that I wanted to listen to or experience as much different holiday stuff as I possibly could. So that was a good place for me to get some more ideas. So that's it.
Thank you, Jody. And let's have Jen share her holiday titles next.
Okay. First, let's do kind of a normal Christmassy one. So the first one that I picked is called The Gingerbread Pirate, or the Pirate, I'm new to the title, The Gingerbread Pirates. For some reason, I was second guessing the title on that one. This is a children's book, a picture book, but it's super, super cute. My boys, I have 2 younger children and they both love it. The Gingerbread Pirates starts with a boy and his mom making gingerbread cookies, and they make them all in shapes of pirates. And his favorite is Captain Cookie. And he takes Captain Cookie to bed. And of course, Christmas Eve, Captain Cookie comes alive. He's got to find his crew. And so he goes down cliffs, which are the stairs, and he comes across a mouse who's giant. And then he finds this giant tree. And all of his crewmates are up top, and he sees them, and they're stuck on the mantle. And what is this thing that they're stuck on? And, you know, he's got to get his crew. And then the rest of the crew have been entrapped. They're in a cookie jar. And of course, Santa shows up and thankfully doesn't eat the cookies that have been left for Santa because they're his crewmates. And they find this great pirate ship, and they all board it, and they're super happy, and it's wonderful. And a couple of them have been broken, but they're okay. They'll be all right. And then the next morning, the little boy wakes up, and now he has this huge pirate ship under his tree. It's just super cute and fun, and it's just one of those little picture books that just, you know, just makes you feel kind of warm and cozy. And I think especially like for little, I mean, girls like it too. Obviously, I enjoy it, but like my little boys, this is a fun little Christmas story that's, you know, it's got pirates, it's got gingerbread cookies. They always want to, my kids always want to make gingerbread pirates after we read it though, and I'm not that skilled, so I'm always like, maybe we'll just, sure, no. We've yet to do that, someday maybe, but just a super, super cute little picture book that's a lot of fun to read. My second one is called The 12 Sleighs of Christmas, and it is by Jacqueline Frost. This is not my normal kind of read at all, but I just read this one actually like this week. I have just been in a cozy reading mode. Lately, I have been all about the easy, light, funny, just easy, like fun to read, cozy books. If you're not familiar with the term cozy, like cozy mysteries or cozy romance, or just really, you know, there's not a lot of gore. There's not a lot of, if it's a romance, there's not a lot of explicit hanky-panky. So this one, The 12 Sleighs of Christmas, follows Holly White. Holly was supposed to get married on Christmas Eve, and her fiance left her for someone younger and cuter. And I mean, she's like 26, so, you know, really, really way too old, obviously. So she moves back home to her parents' Christmas tree farm in Mistletoe, Maine. And they run a Christmas tree farm called Reindeer Games, and their big thing is the 12 days of Christmas. They do a different game every day, and it's super cute. And she's happy to be home and realizing, like, oh, my fiance was kind of dumb, and why did I want to leave Mistletoe? It's fantastic here. But then someone dies on their property, and Holly's like, well, murder's not going to ruin my Christmas, so she's going to investigate. And of course, there's a hunky sheriff who's from out of town as well. And what's going on with the hunky sheriff? And it's just really light and cute. And of course, you know, you wouldn't think a book about a murder on a Christmas tree farm should put you in the Christmas spirit. But all the descriptions of mistletoe, I want to go there and hang out. Like, it just sounds like the most lovely Christmas place. And all the descriptions of the Christmas tree farm sound amazing. And of course, they find the real killer, and everyone's fantastic, and it's a very happy ending. Super, super cute, light, a very fast read. I read this one and then discovered there's 2 more, and I'm already on the 3rd one. So they're just really, really cute and happy little cozy mysteries that happen to be set on a Christmas tree farm at Christmas.
There you go, and sometimes that's what you need.
Exactly.
Thank you, Jen. And let's have Joyce share her holiday titles.
Well, like Jody, I really couldn't narrow it down. I mentioned my autistic daughter. She'll unwrap any present I put under the tree, whether it's for her or not. So I've learned a long time ago, you don't put presents underneath the Christmas tree until like after they go to bed Christmas Eve. So I don't like nothing under my tree. So I started years ago putting my collection of Christmas books under the tree. And that's a lot. I mean, I don't really know how many I have, but I'm going to guess it's over 100. And just adult books, Christmas, children's books, and I put those under the tree, and my daughter crawls under and she'll pull one out and she'll just look at one after another. It makes her very happy. So when I went through my collection of books, it's like, okay, they're all my favorite. I don't really know what to do here. I did narrow it down to three. The first is Skipping Christmas by John Grisham. John Grisham is such a wonderful storyteller. And if this sounds familiar to you, you probably have seen the movie Christmas with the Cranks. That's what the movie was based on this book. Basically, Luther and Nora's daughter, their only child, is leaving right after Thanksgiving to join the Peace Corps, and they are facing their very first Christmas without her, and they're just not looking forward to it. And Luther, who is an accountant, decided to total up how much they spend on Christmas, because they usually have a big party, and of course they, the gifts and everything, and the specialty Christmas cards and all that. And he comes to Nora with an idea that in order to not feel sad at Christmas and not spend as much money at Christmas, let's go on a cruise. And we'll just skip Christmas altogether. We won't put up a tree and we won't put up any decorations. We're just going to skip everything and go on a cruise Christmas Day. And he convinces her to do it. But the problem is the town they live in, they really like Christmas. And for a family to not celebrate Christmas, yeah, that's just like a mortal sin. And they're having a very difficult time with this idea. And but hilarity ensues. Eventually it comes down to Christmas Eve. They're getting ready. They're going to leave the next day for Christmas, for this cruise. And their daughter calls and says, I'm going to be home for Christmas and I'm bringing my fiance. And hilarity ensues. So again, if you've seen the movie and know how the story goes, I really recommend reading the book. It's just a really neat story. It's just a sappy, feel-good story. I loved it. I think it's adorable. The next book is called Bear Stays Up for Christmas. This is a part of a series of books about Bear and his friends. And Bear usually hibernates, but his friends decide he's going to stay up for Christmas. So they wake him up for Christmas. And they get him up and they go and get the Christmas tree and they make the fruit cake. And he's working on trying to stay awake, and eventually he does wake up. And as the day goes on, they have a wonderful Christmas Eve, and then his friends all start falling asleep, but he's awake and he spends the night making presents for his friends. And it's just a really cute story. The illustrations are really beautiful. You know me, I love my children's books. I love the illustrated books, and it's just a really nice picture book. So that was my second one. My third one is also part of a series. This is the Uncle John's Bathroom Reader, Jingle Bell Christmas. And if you're not familiar with Uncle John's Bathroom Readers, this is before cell phones, before you had a computer on your phone. The idea is that these books, if you love trivia, you're going to love these books. Everything in these books is designed to be a very short read. An average of how long you stay in the bathroom, that kind of a read. That's why the idea is that this is the book that will sit on the back of the toilet seat. Again, there's all kinds of these books, but this one is specifically about Christmas. And again, if you love trivia, you'll really enjoy these. I got my copy here, and just opening it up to one. This is called Christmas by the Numbers, and I'm just going to throw a few out here. 25. That's the number of years a fruitcake can age and still be okay to eat.
No.
Yeah, well, the next thing is 47% of people say they'd toss a fruitcake in the trash if they got one as a gift. 364. That's the number of presents you would receive if you got every gift mentioned in a 12 Days of Christmas. 569. That's the average number of kids hospitalized annually for eating a Christmas ornament. And then the last one is 300,000 yards.
That's the amount of Christmas ribbon and bows draped over 1,360 Christmas trees at Florida's Walt Disney World Resort every year. So
Nice.
it's just, most of them are 1, 2, 3 pages long, just a quick little read. It's not a story. You can pick it up anywhere and start reading. I really enjoy it. This kind of book that I can find myself lost in.
Thank you, Joyce. And for my holiday titles, my first one is by a very well-known author who probably everybody is familiar with, and that is J.K. Rowling. And she released a Christmas book this year. It is about 250 pages. So if you're going to read it with your kids, it's going to be one that's going to take several nights to read with them. And the story is one that's sort of familiar, but J.K. Rowling manages to create other worlds so well that I think you'll want to dig into this one as well. So Jack has a stuffy whom he has grown up with and whom he loves. And the stuffy understands Jack, and Jack understands the stuffy. And the stuffy is a pig. And it's been through a lot, lots of washes, kind of changed colors. Mom had to sew on new eyes and everything. And he called it Der Pig because he was little, so he didn't say the pig, he said Der Pig. So as he grew up, it turned into DP, Der Pig. So Jack and DP have gone through everything together. Well, when Jack is 8 or 9, his parents get divorced. And so Jack is with DP and he tells DP how he feels. DP always seems to understand and bring him comfort. And then Jack's mom remarries and they move and he gets a stepsister. And that's a lot of change for an 8, 9-year-old. And the stepsister is going through a lot of the same stuff. And she's around 14, which is a rough age anyhow. And he and the stepsister get into a fight. And the stepsister takes DP and flings him out the window on Christmas Eve. And Jack is devastated. And Holly, his stepsister, realizes after she's done it what she's done. The grandparents take her out. They try and find a replacement DP. But if you've been a kid that has a beloved stuffy, a replacement isn't the same. And Jack hates Christmas Pig. Hates Christmas Pig. Well, it's Christmas Eve. And as Jen mentioned in one of her books, what happens on Christmas Eve with toys? They come alive. And so Jack wakes up in the middle of the night. And who's looking at him but Christmas Pig, and several of his other toys are all looking at him. And they're like, we got to go find DP Man, and we can do it, but it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to be pretty scary, and we can't guarantee that we're going to find DP in the end. Well, Jack agrees. They begin this journey through all sorts of magical places and real places, and he and Christmas Pig get to know each other. And they face adventures and adversities together. And that is the vast bulk of the story, is Jack's adventures with Christmas Pig as he's trying to go get DP. And I will leave it at that. But J.K. Rowling, as usual, manages to create a very fun, believable, immersive fantasy world for these stuffed animals and for Jack. And in the process, Jack starts to accept some of the changes that have come his way. So it's a really good book. Kids will enjoy it. There it is. Yay. But it is a bit of a bigger one. So, but it has some lovely illustrations in it as well. My next book, and we'll see if I can hold it up here, is Red and Green and Blue and White. And this one is actually inspired by a true story. This book just came out this year, but it's inspired by a true story that happened in 1993 in Billings, Montana. And Billings was having a rough year. They had had some white supremacists move into town that year. They were dealing with some hate crime. And things really came to a head when a young boy named Isaac, he and his family had decorated their house for Hanukkah, and he had a menorah hanging up in his window, and somebody threw a brick through it. And the town hears about this, and they start talking about what they can do so that they are no longer standing by, but that they are standing up for people who should be stood up for. And so the newspaper actually prints a copy of a menorah and invites people to start hanging them in their own homes. And so thousands of homes in Billings that year take that menorah, decorate it, and hang it in their own windows to show that they are standing with this family. So it's lovely that it is a true story. It shows the community that can happen, not just on the holidays, but anytime. And in the book that Lee Wind has done, he's brought that down to a level that you could read with, your 6 or 7-year-old and talk about it. He doesn't go into a lot of the background. So if you don't want to get into too much of that, he just talks about Isaac and his friend across the street. And when this happens, the friend draws her own picture and hangs it up in her home, and businesses hang them up in their places. So it's a really good holiday story. It's a good community story. It's really lovely. The illustrations are bright and beautiful. And there's a really nice page where one part of the page is all red and green for Christmas, and the other page spread is blue and white for Hanukkah. And he talks about how it is red and green and blue and white, and it's okay to have all of them. So that's a lovely brand new picture book. And then my final book is if you just need something super quick to put a smile on your face, it is the Book of Holiday Awesome. And if you haven't seen the Awesome books before, they're literally, you can open them up anywhere. Every page or two is one thing that is awesome, in this case about the holidays. So I'm just going to open up here. And the first one that I came to that's awesome about the holidays is eating anything with oil in it. So, favorite part of Hanukkah is eating anything with oil in it. So you get the latkes and those little pancakes of potatoes, egg, and flour. So that's one. Real bearded Santas are awesome during the holidays. If you get a real bearded Santa, I just have to say, there's a gentleman, and I don't know if he still attends there, that attended my parents' church, and he looked like Santa. He had the real white beard, and I mentioned it to my parents, and my dad's like, yeah, he works as a Santa during the holiday season and travels around to different children's hospitals and things. Like, well, that's
one story. I gotta jump in here and tell you guys this. My dad was 51 when I was born, so quite a bit older. He was a Santa's helper while I was growing up, and he had a big beard that he would grow out. Apparently, there were multiple occasions where I went to see him and didn't know it was my father. Like, he came to my school in kindergarten, and I can remember vividly this Santa knowing things. No clue it was my dad. Something about putting on the suit.
That is awesome. It's just like Clark Kent and Superman.
Yeah, no clue.
Like, put on the suit. It's not Dad, it's Santa.
Exactly. No clue this is my father. He'd be like, did you pick up your toys like your mother asked you to? No.
And here's a comment: driving around town to see all the Christmas lights. That's one of my favorites. Oh, I'll finish with this one. When the wrapping paper lines up perfectly when you go to tape it. Yes, that does make me happy. That is awesome. So on each page, there's a different thing. And then sometimes the author shares a little anecdote about why he thinks that's awesome. So if you just need a little splash of holiday awesome, that's a nice quick book to pick up, read for a couple of minutes and go, yeah, that is pretty awesome. The holidays are awesome. So thank you to all of you for sharing your holiday spirit books. Thank you to those of you who listened. And the next time we're back, we're going to be sharing our favorite reads from 2021. But in the meantime, we hope that your holiday season, however you celebrate, is a wonderful, joyful, peaceful, great time for you and your family. Thank you. Bye.
We wish you a Merry Christmas.